we'll come to the Q&A. So now's the moment where you can write in the chat any questions you have to our four speakers. And I have the feeling that the four speakers have some questions they would like to pose each other as well. So we'll see what questions have come up. So any questions from the audience? Oh, here we go. We have two of them. So Daniel asks you, to any of you, what makes you feel successful? Do you define success differently with respect to art as opposed to politically or socially? So who wants to take that question?
Maybe I'm happy to go. Can you hear me? Success. Ooh, that sounds like a very I don't know. What do you call it? It's a very tricky word for me, because success for me is not you can't quantify it, especially when you're making art. So for example, if you're a political activist and you have a campaign, and you can then measure the success again, or how influential it was, or how it went. These are all quantifiable, but with art, you can't really put your finger on how it actually did. Sometimes you make art and it just, like the image I created in 2012, which was this one, laid dormant on the internet for about 4 years, and it was just floating around waiting for someone to pick it up. I thought it was my Edward Said moment when I created it, but it didn't get any traction, luckily. But then in 2016 it went viral, and I was like, oh, okay, so there's a lot of people out there who this work resonates with. And yeah, I don't know, how do you measure success when it's an artwork? You can't really measure success. Cultural activism is different to political activism. What I do and what a lot of us do is cultural activism. We try to basically have a voice or make a point. We don't go down the streets and rallies. I mean, some of the art has been taken down to the streets and has been created to be taken to protest, but not all of it. Yeah, I don't know. Does someone else have something else to say about it?
I have some thoughts about that, and I really wrestled with this question yesterday, in fact, because yesterday the teeter-totter wall was given an enormous design prize by the Design Museum. And they asked me if I was excited about this, and that aren't I happy that the project is so successful now? And I was thinking to myself, does receiving this design prize constitute the success? And for me, the answer was no. The success of the project was when I was able to tell a different story in a very clear way about the border, what the borderlands were. When people think of the U.S.-Mexico border, they think this is how it's portrayed in the news here, or by the coming former leader of our regime, which you would say that there are bad people doing bad things in a place where no one really lives. But in fact, this is a landscape where grandmothers and mothers and children live every single day. And that's the story I wanted to tell. And so the success for me was when people were able to clearly hear that story and understand that story through a very simple image or very short video. That to me defines the success of the project.
And I think we have a great follow-up question to that about how is art and activism sustainable? What happens after the event or after the art? I think maybe Anisa, do you want to add to that question, to what Saffaa and Ronald have said?
Well, for me, it's again hard to identify what is when you understand that art worked really and when you succeeded. Because I think when you create art, you become separate from art. It goes from you and it just, you know, works on its own, with a lot of explanations by the critics, by the society, by all sort of people. And I think that it's good to state it, but before you're making an art, therefore to understand where it can go, to what extent, and what are the, you know, what is your morality, where it can go, what it can reach. So that after effect, because it can affect your feeling about what you did in the end as well. Yeah, that's my position. And from what the others said, well, in my case, I feel really happy when, from my activism or art, I can see that others are getting inspired and also making art again as well. For example, with the residency of new filmmakers, novice filmmakers, when I could see that they were making films, and now there are so many new people who are trying to make films in Tajikistan. That's really inspiring, and I think that's the main purpose of it. So I think that's sort of an exact success.
Thank you so much. Razan, do you have anything to add to our three speakers? Because we're almost at the end, so I know there's so many more questions popping up in the chat, but I think we'll have one more word from Razan before we already have to close our session. Right, there you go. Maybe you can unmute yourself.
Really great job by everyone, and I really like how you are all connected and passionate about your cause or purpose, and how you understand yourself, because understanding yourself is basically the base of understanding reality. So I have seen that in all of you, and I'm very grateful that you have shared your stories with us.
Cool, thanks so much. So I want to thank our four guests here today very, very much for your personal, professional view on your work. It's been really inspiring to hear from you. And I guess Saffaa will be heading off to bed very soon. Being midnight back in her place.